shop, Rob from Wisley Summercraft here. It's been a couple of weeks since I've had a video out. I've been pretty busy. We went on vacation to San Francisco and absolutely loved that. Had a great time. It was a good place to visit. So if you've not been to San Francisco, head on to the West Coast. It's awesome. Okay, so there's a couple of projects that I have on the go that I haven't completed, and I'm not going to complete them today either. I have a big oak burl. It's about 10 inches around. I'm going to make some kind of a bowl out of. I'm not sure what it's going to look like yet, but the outside looks amazing. I posted a photograph just as I was roughing it out a few weeks ago, but I haven't had a chance to go back to that yet. I'm not working on that today. Another one is a thin bowl that I've got on the bench over there that I plan on doing some carving to. I'm not finishing that one either today. I did just make this. Thanks to Stephen Ogle, I went and looked at one of his videos. I'll leave a link in the description below to his videos, and I made myself a Longsworth chuck. And it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. This is my first one, so I think I could do some improvements to it, but I'm pretty happy with it overall. It will do from a 5-inch bowl to a 10.5-inch bowl, and I'll be able to finish the bottoms off with that quite nicely. I do not have a manufactured faceplate on the back of it. It's one that I made myself. In fact, this was from a previous project. I reused this. It was from my sanding disc that I previously made in another video. I'll leave a link to that here. The sanding disc that I made, and then I reused that for this now that I have a proper sander. So anyway, that's my Longsworth chuck. I can't use that on the project I'm making today because I'm going to be turning this piece of figured maple. It's AAA figured maple. Absolutely stunning piece of wood. I hope I do it justice. It is 11 inches by 2 inches around, and I'm going to be making a bowl with this. So I'm going to be using my wormwood screw, and I'm going to put a recess mortise in the back side of the bowl, the underside of the bowl, mainly because it won't fit in my Longsworth chuck. So I'll be grabbing that mortise and turning it around to do the inside of the bowl. But I've turned a piece of wood that's got this same figure in before. Maybe I'll leave a photograph somewhere for you to check it out. A long time ago, I might add, a long time ago. But I absolutely love this kind of wood, so let's get this thing turned. Okay, so I have my Keith Barrows center finder here. I'll be using this to find the center of this blank. But that gives you a really good indication as to where you need to put your wormwood screw. Okay, so I'm going to drill a 3/8 hole in this blank and put my wormwood screw in the chuck, and we'll get this thing turned. Always good to put a little bit of wax on your wormwood screw, just so that it goes in the wood nicely and comes back out again when you're done. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is to knock off this corner and start truing up this edge. This is going to balance it and allow me to speed up the RPM. Right, so I've got the underside of the bowl pretty much how I want it. It's showing off the curly maple just beautifully. I've got the mortise made for the smaller jaws of my chuck, small detail, and I've got the beading on the outside edge, 2 beads. So what I'm going to have to do now is sand this down to 320 grit, and then we're going to apply Yorkshire Grit and Hampshire Sheen High Gloss with the sanding sealer before the Yorkshire Grit. Don't forget the sanding sealer before the Yorkshire Grit, guys. Okay, so this time I've got the underside of the bowl complete. I've sanded it from 100, 120, 150, 180, 220 and 320. Now what we have to do is clean any sawdust out of the grain of the wood. So I'm going to do that with alcohol, and then when that dries I'm then going to put 2 to 3 coats of sanding sealer on it and allow them to dry, and then we'll denib it and go with Yorkshire Grit. So when handling chemicals you really should be wearing rubber gloves. We'll put some alcohol on the paper towel and just clean this wood. You'll see the sawdust will come out onto the paper towel. If you don't do this, the sawdust will be in your finish. So this should hopefully give you a much clearer finish. More chatoyance, which everybody's been talking about lately on Facebook. And this dries very quickly. Alright, so I'm happy with that. So now what I'm going to do is put several coats of sanding sealer. Now what I use again is liquid shellac watered down with some kind of an alcohol. I use mineral spirits. That's just one option. Okay, so I'm going to put 3 coats on and allow them to dry between each coat. I don't want streaks in this. It will raise the grain a little bit, and that's why I'll end up denibbing. I'll probably just denib with like a little piece of 400 grit sandpaper, just to denib the wood once it's had the sanding sealer soaked into it. Right, so I'll let that dry and I'll do this 2 more times. Okay, so I've got 3 coats of sanding sealer on this bowl now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to denib it. I've just got a piece of 400. I'm going to denib it, and then I'm going to use a piece of Formica to burn these 2 lines, and also there's a line on the side between the 2 beads that I'm going to burn. So I'm just going to really lightly denib this. No pressure at all. Right, so now I'm going to bring the speed up a little bit, and I'm going to burn these lines. Okay, so there it is. It's been sanded to 320 grit. It's been sealed with sanding sealer 3 times and denibbed. A couple of burn lines, and now we're going to go with Yorkshire Grit. I'm going to place my hand all over the inside hole. And now we're going to turn it on slow speed to start the process. Making small circles. Bringing up the speed now. Using a fresh piece of towel to make sure that we get all the residue off. Now that it's done its job. So there's nothing that comes up on the paper. And we are there. Saw somebody's recent project where they applied the Hampshire sheen and then they allowed it to dry for 10 minutes and then they used steel wool to buff it to a shine. I've not done that, so I'm going to give that a try. Making sure it's all coated. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry now for a few minutes and then we'll come back and we'll try buffing it with steel wool. I'll probably start with the paper and then go to the steel wool. Okay, so the Hampshire sheen has now set. It is now dry to the touch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buff it with the same piece of paper towel that I applied it with, and then I'm going to move over to some 000 wire wool and see if that will give us a better shine. And then I will apply several coats of Hampshire sheen high gloss, maybe 3 or 4 coats to get an even more brilliant shine. Okay, so now you want to be very careful using wire wool. You don't want to tangle it up in your fingers, so use an open hand and just go very carefully, and if it does get caught it will just get pulled out of your hand. Okay, so I'm calling the underside of this bowl done. It's a beautiful two-tone of colour. Right down the centre it changes colour. And it has some lovely chatoyance. It's got a nice shine to it. It's very smooth to the touch. Came out absolutely lovely. So what I'm going to do now is turn it around and hollow it out. I said with a sharpened pencil in my hand, you were in my head. I had planned to write to you verses that immortalize your virtues. Then I found out a time in the history. Once it struck me as a mystery. Now I wonder what I used to see. Every page of screaming like shot.
You can edit that out.
I'm going to put it in. You snap
I saw it wasn't up there, so I thought you weren't doing it.
Oh.
I sat down with a sharpened pencil in my hand. You were in my head. I had planned to write you the verses that so virtues for Then I thought about our tiny little history. Once it struck me as a mystery. Now I wonder what I used to see this screaming at just like this. Oh, untitled. I swear I thought I knew you. Now my eyes just stare right through you, and I don't think I can blame you. Yeah, I was looking for and pushed aside the rest, but I was wrong. No, it's not like you're an ogre, it's just you're bland and mediocre. I am drunk and you are sober, yeah. This song won't ever write itself, so you best be on your way.
Okay, so this is the finish off of the tool. I finished this with a scraper. A little bit of sanding to do, but not too much. And then we'll get the same finish on the inside as we got on the outside, and this bowl will be finished. Okay, so this is sanded to 320 grit, and there is no tear out. Beautiful piece of wood. What I'm going to do is clean this with alcohol, like I did on the outside, to get rid of any sawdust that might be in the grain, so that doesn't stay in the finish. You can see it comes off in the cloth. There's not a lot, but every bit you can get out will help get you a better finish in the end. Okay, and that will dry quickly, and then what I'm going to do is put some sanding sealer on. Again, I'm using this shellac watered down with mineral spirits, or an alcohol basically. I think I need to get some more. Just going to wipe that on. Nice thin coat, and then I will apply three or four coats, as long as I don't spill it. Okay. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, look at that. Can you see that? Okay. I'll let that dry, and then I'll come back and put a couple more coats on, 2 or 3 more coats on, and then we'll continue. I've now added 3 coats of sanding sealer to this, and I've cut it back with steel wire wool. It's nice and smooth, there's no streaking, and the chatoyance in this piece of wood is quite stunning. So what I'm going to do now is apply some Yorkshire Grit to it to get that foundation again for Hampshire sheen. high gloss, and then this bowl will basically be done. So it goes from a $42 piece of wood that I purchased at the Woodstock Wood Show last weekend to a bowl that I would probably try and sell for about $150. I don't think that's asking too much when you've got a piece of wood that's got this much figure in it. And some of you might think that that's not enough. But I find that I would rather sell it than have it sit in a box. I'd rather somebody enjoy it. I'm not trying to get rich wood turning. It's never going to happen. Okay, so I'm going to turn this on low speed now. Okay, now I'm going to apply a couple of coats of Hampshire Sheen High Gloss. Just rub it in my hand and then let it dry. I'm going to leave that for 10 minutes and then I'm going to buff it to a shine, and then I will apply a couple more coats. And now I'm going to buff it with the same paper towel that I used to apply it. A 10 3/4 inch by 2 inch curly figured AAA maple bowl. Absolutely gorgeous piece of wood. Very happy with the finish. Really strongly suggest you guys that are using Yorkshire Grit and Hampshire Sheen to go ahead and put some coats of sanding sealer on prior to Yorkshire Grit. It really makes the world of difference. It really does. You're going to get an absolutely stunning finish with that combination that I used in this video. Clean the wood with alcohol, use some 3 coats of sanding sealer, denib that with some wire wool, and then use Yorkshire Grit as per instructed, and then go with Hampshire Sheen as per instructed, and you'll get an amazing finish. So thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. I'll leave some photographs at the end of this bowl for you guys to check out a little bit closer, and if you go to my website, they'll be in the description below. You can see this for sale, and if you're interested in it, that's awesome. If you want to email me, and if you want to leave a comment below or a question, I'd love to speak to you guys. Take care now. Bye.